The first 15 minutes of Captivating the King, episode 15, have been a doozy. Oh my gosh. So, last review, I ended it with senior court lady that she was going to poison herself or the king, but I did not expect it to end up like this for some reason. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another review on the Review Garden. So she goes into the, king's quarters, and her last request is to kiss him. And while she got close to him, he did not accept, and she was like, I knew you weren't going to accept, which is why I like you so much, pretty much. So then she started throwing up blood, and then he realized that she poisoned herself. And he was using the time to ask her a bunch of questions, like, who did this to you? So she was revealing a bunch of stuff, how she felt about him and stuff like that. And she pretty much died in his arm from the poison. And they did like a little back, and they showed you that she didn't just put it on her lips. She actually took a chunk of it and swallowed it, all because she didn't want to kill him. And if she didn't kill him, they were going to kill her anyways. But for some reason, that moment, I don't know what I was expecting, but for some reason, it wasn't this. And the episode just started. And, the tears are flowing. And you could see how much she actually appreciated him and admired him. Now, with her not saying who was behind it, was it the uncle or the mom? That's what he asked her. So the first person he went to go see after senior court lady, after she passed away, was his mom. And, when he went to go see his mom, and I'm like, woman, what is wrong with you? So when it comes time to side with your son, you side with your brother. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, no, don't go after him because he's the only one protecting you. I'm sorry, is he still protecting him if he tried to kill him? He's not protecting him. He's protecting his position. So if he kills the king, then he could just pick whoever he wants to go on the throne now. She's like, he's the only one having his back. No, there's a lot more people on the court that has the king's side than the uncle. The uncle only thinks about power and the fact that, the king wants to punish him for his crimes. He wants to get rid of the king. And the mom is just sitting here supporting the uncle versus her own son. The own son that you wanted in power. That's crazy. The uncle has learned of what senior court lady did. And, he was talking to Mr. Yu. And, Mr. Yu's telling him like, hey, you need to get ahead of this. And he's like, I don't need to get ahead of anything because I know him and I know the law. If he doesn't have a witness, he can't bring up the interrogation. And then, Mr. Yu's like, but well, what if he does anyway? So he's like, well, we could fight a report with another report. This report can say, Mr. Yu and Mona join forces and say that we should plot treason. And he's like, I was just raising an issue. Why are you bringing me into this? He's like, my doom will also be your doom. So I'm already saying, like, these two don't need to make it to the end of episode 16, okay? Mr. Yu tortured his sister. He's the whole reason that she's dead, in my opinion. And the uncle has done way too many crimes. So both of them needs to be gone. And I don't really care how it happens, but they need to not be in prison. That's it. But I'm pretty sure, he's not gonna kill his own uncle. But then again, he killed Mona's father. So who knows? You tried to run away, right? And then he's trying to run away in the middle of the night, right? And he got caught. He got caught by the king's people. And Mona, kind of threatened him and be like, yo, you better come forward and say that you plotted treason with him, because he did. He was his little lackey, his little whatever. But so Mona and the king's right hand was the one, Captain, I forgot his name, but yeah, that caught him in the middle of the night. So the trial is going to happen the next day, and the uncle walks up still in his robe, and everybody's like, you're being interrogated. Like, why are you still in your robe? He's like, I'm here to answer questions. So if you feel like I'm lying in my questions, then you can ask me to take off the robe, but not then and there. So the king started asking him questions. And then he's like, first the king asked him, did you have the spy? And then he asked him, did you order court lady to, kill the late king, poison the late king? And he was like, well, your questions don't make any sense, because if I did, then who did I do it for? And then the king was like, well, did you also do it for me when you told her to assassinate me? And everybody was like shocked, right? So then he's like, I did not do any of the things you're claiming on me. So then he's like, unless you have a witness, all these questions don't make sense. So, they're like, we have a witness that will, collaborate all his wrongdoings. So Mr. Yu comes in, and, he's saying what the uncle did, all the things he did wrong. But there's one thing about this man. He knows how to shift from people to people. This is like episode 15, and this man was working with like 3 or 4 people. And I'm like, dude. But, I don't know what's going to happen. They had him disrobe. So the guy's going to go to prison no matter what. But it's just a matter of, is he going to die? Because the uncle was really pissed. So he could hire someone to kill him while he's in prison. And I think the reason Mona was, trying to involve himself on the right side this time around is because, he figured out the king's true nature was to protect his nephew, who's now the crown prince, to protect his nephew so that he could be king. And, Mona was so bent on revenge, which, by the way, I'm saying, like, dude, your dad was bad. And he also found out, the reason his father died was because, Mr. Yu lied and said that it was the current king who was the spy. So now he's trying to, help. So, I mean, hopefully, I don't know. In the beginning, I was like, he could not make it. But right now, I'm like, okay, maybe. I don't know. He's still up there. If he makes it, he makes it. If he doesn't, I guess that's all right too. So now the king ordered for the people to torture his uncle until he confesses to his crimes. Yo, this man can take it. And everybody's just watching this happen. Like, they could just be like, okay, I'm going. Nope. They're all just watching. And this man is like bleeding. This trial started in the morning. It's now nighttime. And, he's still yelling. And this man is not confessing to any crimes. I wonder if the king's mom is going to come over to tell him to stop. I mean, does she really have a right to do so? I mean, like in terms of, plotting with him and in terms of the power, the way the power works. Because I would think the king has more power than she does, over these types of things. I want to know why the uncle and the king's mom keep saying that the uncle is his one and only kin. Like, isn't the crown prince technically his kin? 'Cause that's his the late king was his half brother, right? I'm assuming it was half brother because they shared the same father. I would assume that that's what made them brothers, because the current king's mom, was not the late king's mom, because that's the only reason, she would never accept him and his kids, right? But the crown prince and the princess technically are his kin. So I don't understand this whole, I'm your one and only kin, you can't do this. And even if the crown prince and the thing didn't qualify and the princess didn't qualify as his kin, wouldn't his mom qualify as his kin? Like, I don't get why they keep saying that. So they didn't really take the uncle to the state tribunal. The king was like, he's to wait and be confined in his own house to wait for, the command, what his punishment's gonna be. But I feel like that's the quickest way for him to, get someone in his house and request revenge on the king. We're only, 48 minutes into episode 15 with 28 minutes left. So, and then you have another hour-long episode for the season finale, series finale. So I feel like a lot can happen in that time. And this man is bent on revenge for everyone. So in terms of punishment, Master Chu, the one missing the eye, he gets flogged 80 times and he gets 3 years of prison, right? Are you... okay, I get it. He tried to assassinate the king, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but he was doing it out of love and somebody already took out his eye. And he was tricked, the earlier time. But he's like, because of what he did with the case, he got his sentence down. So what was it gonna be before? 150 times flogged? Like, and then Mr. Yu gets exile? Like, I'm sorry. He should have been flogged too. Flogged and imprisoned. That would have been better than exile. At least the other guy should have. I feel like it should have been swapped, okay? The other guy should have gotten exile, which by exile, I'm assuming it's just like you can't come back into the town, right? I mean, that's pretty much it. This man can go live his best life, I'm guessing. Unless by exile, they mean, he's gonna go be in a prison somewhere else on, like in the city that they live in. If that's the case, then okay. But, whew, 80 times though? That's gonna hurt. So Mona came in front of the king to confess his crimes, which, I mean, the crimes that he confessed to were technically, the king allowed it anyway. So he pretty much confessed to getting you to do what he did for the whole trial, basically. And he was like, he was swayed. At some point there, he was swayed because of everything he was feeling, because of the king and what happened to his father, right? So the king's like, okay, I've decided on the punishment for my uncle. And he's supposed to die by poison. And you are going to go take the poison to him and watch him die, basically. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't know if that's a good punishment or a bad one, because I don't really remember. I mean, the relationship between Mona and the uncle. But anyway, I mean, I guess he's not facing real punishment, just going to be scarred a little bit. I mean, the king had to have 2 people die in his arm by poison. So, he already knows how it feels. But it was 2 people that he liked. I mean, having someone that you don't like die by poison in your hand, I don't know if it's going to have the same effect, And the king's mom is annoying to me. Even to the end, she's still protecting her brother. She's asking, for the king to like be lenient towards his brother, exile him instead of killing him. He's like, he must die in order for everyone to, treat me as a true king and pay for his crimes. And she's over here begging and pleading. And I'm like, even to the end, you couldn't be behind your son. You couldn't support him in his decision. All you care about is power. Like, make it make sense. Like, she's over here begging for this man's life. And I'm like, with all the wrongs he did, I'm like, you lucky the king is not having you exiled too. Because you committed just as many crimes as the uncle did. But he's letting yours pass. So, I'd keep my mouth shut. It's always funny to me, weird to me as well. Like when you want to cause pain and suffering to other people, but then when it's your turn, all of a sudden you're acting like, remember this. This is what happens when you're loyal to the king. I'm like, no, you were loyal to yourself. You were loyal to your power. And you were caught for your crimes. And I feel like maybe the king wouldn't have tried to, have him take the poison had he had not, sent the court lady to kill him, right? So he probably would have done anything else, maybe exile him or like flog him. But he probably wouldn't have, because I think that was the last straw. Because you can't tell me you were loyal to me if you also tried to kill me. Like, that makes no sense. But what I don't understand is why the uncle died so quickly. Like, he started, vomiting blood so quickly, because the king, it took him a while, right? Just because he was in that whole argument with the brother, and then it was after then he started with the blood. The court lady, she had, enough time to get to his room and try to kiss him and all that stuff before she started with the blood. But the uncle, as soon as he drunk it and did that evil laugh, he started throwing up blood. I don't know. Was it that his was more concentrated? Like, so I'm like, inconsistency. But looking at, Mona's face, it was very traumatizing watching him suffer like that with blood coming out of his mouth. That's one thing for sure. That was a painful death. It seems like also everything is okay with the king, or queen, Qing. They, the uncle sent a letter trying to warn him of what the king was doing, but the other guy didn't give it to the prince. He gave it back to the king, so all's okay in that front. But the emperor is sending a spy over to Joseon, and he's not even hiding the fact that he's sending a spy. But they have to give him a position in the court. And then also the emperor wants to play Baduk with, Monwoo. So the queen found out that Monwoo is pretty much that she's a woman, and the way she found out, like, is annoying to me, because her court lady bumped into that nurse, the female doctor, and pretty much saw the bracelet that the other court lady gave her, the one that passed away. And then she's like, being rude to her and everything. I get it. You're a senior court lady, but she's a doctor. Technically, she should have higher power than you, technically, but I guess not. So she's like yelling at her to tell her, how she got it, and that if she doesn't want to die, she better tell the truth. And then she brought her in front of the queen, and she pretty much told her that, that Yisu is a woman. And, she goes and gets her and then starts putting all this, female stuff on her while she's dressed like a man. And I'm like, you can't have this woman walk out of here looking like a woman when she came in as a man. And this is what I was saying in the beginning, right? Like, her face will look the same. So even if we wanted to be like, oh, it's the twin, whatever, she still looks the same. Just because her hair is down doesn't mean the face will change. That's why she should have worn like a fake beard or something to like hide her true face. That's why the queen was like, oh, you clearly look like a woman. I can't believe I was deceived, So that's pretty much have episode 15 ended, with the king walking in, and she was about to have her court ladies pretty much change her clothes into a woman. So his mom wanted to change her and put her into women's clothing, but she only wanted to have her appointed as a concubine. She does not want Yisu to be queen. And I'm like, woman, do you still not see you don't have a say? But obviously, I know it's going to be hard for her to become queen because, what she did is technically a crime and the king knew about it and he didn't do anything about it. So now, the mom is angry because he doesn't want to listen to her. And she was like, I'm going to leave the palace. And if I leave the palace, people are going to think of you as an undutiful son. And she was like, and he said, you don't have to leave the palace. I'm just going to relocate my quarters. And that made her even more angry. So I don't know if she's going to try to do something, to get at Hisu. And I'm like, woman, you should be thanking him for not giving you a sentence because you committed a lot of crimes too. And you're over here walking away scot-free. And you're still making the demands. That's weird. The king gave Hisu permission to go, or his approval to go to Beijing because she wanted to also see her father. The emperor, asked that she comes over there to play with him. So he also wanted someone to go with her. So he took Master Chu out of, prison or out of his punishment so that he can go with her. And then before that, he asked, the captain, hey, can he have 3 days time because he needs to go take care of, Mr. Yu. And, the captain's like, I don't think that's appropriate. That's against the law and against the king's kindness. So, he still gave him 3 days though. And I'm like, okay, does it make sense? He is who you should have been going after in the first place. But now you want to go after him after he's in exile and, I don't know. It seems very thing to me. You should have taken him out when he was hard to get, I don't understand how Mr. Yu is in exile and he could still be making commands. Like the person who's there with him, he's telling him, "Oh, I gave you money yesterday to buy better food. What is this crap that you're giving me?" And, the guy was mumbling under his breath. He's like, "You're acting like you're a nobleman, but you're nothing but a traitor." And then this man starts stumping on him. He stumped on him to the extent that this man passes away, right? So then Mr. Yu runs away. And then that's when, Master Chu catches up to him and pretty much they fight. And then he ends up slicing his throat. I feel like the fight was really unnecessary. I would have liked it if he had just showed up behind him and just went slice. But hey, he needed to pay for all the crimes that he committed this season and didn't make it to the end. On a side note, I think it's nice and it's amazing that the crown prince is still in mourning of, the queen, even though everyone else has moved on. It just goes to show you how he thought of her, you know? And even to the last second, he was referring to her as mom. But like even the late queen's father doesn't even wear white anymore. But like he's still in mourning. So I thought like that was interesting to see. The king wanted to spend, one last day before she goes to Beijing with Hisu. He wanted to spend one last day with her. So he had her, he picked out some women clothing for her and had it delivered to her. So they pretty much spent the whole day together. And at night, she was like, they were each making requests. Like him, he was like, don't beat him at the game too long so that he doesn't keep you longer, saying that, oh, he's not letting you go until he wins a game, right? And he was giving her other requests, and she made one request, and she was like, don't leave the queen's quarters empty too long. And I'm like, what, you want him to take another queen on you? Because granted, 3 years ago he didn't know you were a woman, but this time he knows you're a woman and he loves you. I don't think he's gonna take another queen. And he didn't even want to make you a concubine, so like he's not gonna take a queen while you're away. And she said, how come you haven't asked me my name? And I'm like, technically, shouldn't he know her name? Because he's been looking for her this whole time, right? For her father. So how is it he doesn't know her name? But I get what they're trying to play at, because, she said she would reveal her name to whoever beats her in the game. So he hasn't, they haven't really finished a game where he won for him to ask for her name, because that was her rule, right? So that's their way of saying they're going to play another game in the future. So it seems like 9 months went by and there were a lot of changes being made, a lot of officials changing roles. A lot of people were, demoted or fired, and a lot of them were promoted because the king asked that, all the court members look into their crimes and punish those who are guilty. And he said he would look upon the royal family and punish all the necessary people. His mom left on a retreat, I'm guessing, and she hasn't come back yet. So, the king sent to ask her, like, when is she coming back? And she's like, if the king wants to know when I'm coming back, he should come himself. She's acting like the king is her husband versus the king being her son. I'm like, woman. Again, she should be happy that she's not punished for her crimes. And it wasn't the king who banished her. She's the one who left on her own, right? And she just doesn't want to come back until he comes to personally greet her. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And, it seems like the Prince Rui, the one that was supposed to be married to the princess, he passed away. So they sent the girl back, the undercover girl. They sent her back to the palace, and Hisu came back with her, but she doesn't want to tell the king that she came back. Only Mona saw her in the streets, and he went to her and confronted her. But, Master Chu stayed in Beijing with her father. So her father's still over there. So, I mean, there's 13 minutes left of episode 16. So I don't know. I don't think he's coming back at all. But, it seems like everyone should technically be back into their places, because the spy that Beijing originally sent, I guess because the prince passed away, so now there's no one protecting him, so they came to get him. They came to get him to be punished. So he has to be punished for his crimes. And he is over here crying because he doesn't want to go with them to Beijing to be punished. He wants to be punished, by the king. And I'm like, that means their punishment must be worse, because he's like, I'm from Joseon and I should be punished by you. He's like, but remember a long time ago, you told me that you were no longer one of us. You were one of them. So therefore, you should be happy to go and be punished by them. Because if you remember, when the king, when he had to go to Queen, that time when the late king was still in power, he was the spy was the one leading the forces, and he was the one being mean to everyone. So, hey, you get what you deserve. So there seemed to be something brewing between, Hisu's maid and Captain Ju. Because there was that one time, when he visited, when she was sick, and they had that weird conversation. And then towards the end of episode 16, she was crying, and the guy's like, you okay? Why are you crying? She's like, because I'm happy. And I'm guessing they are allowed to be together. I think it's the court maids that maybe are not allowed to get married. But I think since she's not a court maid, she would be allowed to get married. I'm not sure that I like the ending to this, because it just seemed unfinished. It's just them playing a game and her saying her name, and he's like, we're gonna be together for the rest of our lives, and she's still dressed as a man because she was trying to run away without seeing him, and it just ended like that. And I'm like, there's so much that still needs to happen. How are you going to, be together forever? Like, everybody needs to see that part. It's not just you saying it, because she's still a man. Everybody thinks she's a man. What happened to, I'm not gonna imagine this happening. So is this you're keeping it like this so that it could be a number 2, season 2? Because you just ended it that way. It just seems unfinished, because that's what everybody is waiting for. Everybody's waiting for the fact that, she could be queen. What happens, when everybody finds out she's a man, she's a woman, or however you wanted to develop that for people to see. I understand 16 episodes versus 20 to try and stop the misunderstandings, but I feel like this story is also Like, it just cut abruptly. There should be more. There should be more. The people are waiting to see her be a woman and be queen. It's not just him as a man. Anyway, whatever. It would have been the ending that would dictate my rating for this series. So stay tuned to see what I rate Captivating the King. And this wraps up our journey on the Review Garden. Thank you for joining me today as we explored this drama. If you enjoyed this reaction and review, please remember to subscribe for more insightful videos. Don't forget to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your feedback helps our channel grow. As always, I'm truly grateful for your support and for joining me on this journey on the Review Garden. Until next time, and happy listening. Bye.